Hello and welcome to Running Behind. I'm Joey Metzger, your host and leader of the pack. Back of the pack, that is. In the Navajo culture, there's a sacred ceremony called a Kinaaldá. It happens when a girl transitions to womanhood. As part of the ceremony, they must run to the east 3 times a day. Songs are sung and prayers are given. And like many of their rich traditions, it is rooted in communal participation. It focuses on teaching the young women about generosity, endurance, strength, and community. My guest, Wynonna Fulgham, went through this ceremony and it sowed the seeds for how she would live her life as a Navajo woman, a wife, a mom, and even more so, it helped strengthen her love and connection to running. And oh, the places her running has taken her. From the simple start of a 5K to eventual ultramarathons, including a starring role in the Cutoff film when finishing the Cocodona 250 last year, and creating a whole new 200-plus mile adventure at Cocodona this year. In this conversation, we learn about her journey and how her Navajo lineage has shaped her life and her running. So grab your garment, your essentials, and head out for your run, because it's time to hit the trail. Give you kind of a rundown. I listened to a couple of your podcasts and I want you to talk about everything that we talked about. So your culture, how that inspired you in your running, and then talk about how you graduated up through 50Ks, 100Ks, 100 miles to Cocodona 250. My buddy Tony was in the 250. I interviewed Dylan and Drew last year, so I want to talk to you about that. And then I want to talk to you about the new adventure you did this year. And I want to talk to you about Missy Hendricks, all kinds of stuff. For my audience, my guest is Wynonna. Do you want to tell my audience your name that you, in your culture, you use a different name sometimes?
It's de Bethlehem Ishle Tudage Eatney Bashichin Tetneza Niashich Ki Ani Dashanella Akut Ego de Nehza Shle. I'm also known as Wynonna Fulgham. So I just introduce myself by using my Ford clan. So that's how we as the Net people identify ourselves first. Because we're not giving the name first, we're actually existing in our mother's womb with already the identity of our 4 clans. So
that's so powerful. And that's what I want to talk about. Like for me and my audience, a lot of this stuff I'm just learning about. I don't know anything about, and I love it. I think it's beautiful. And so all those types of things I want to learn about from you. So I don't know if you didn't get a chance to listen to any of my podcasts, did you? Probably not.
No, not like the recent ones.
Okay.
I have a whole list of ones that I do want that I have saved. And now that summer break has come for me. So now I'm like, yay, now I get to just sit and listen. So it's on my to-do list.
Do not feel obligated to listen to my silly old podcasts, but just to give you a little bit of background on me, I know we connected on Instagram I'm Joey Metzger. My podcast is Running Behind. It is inspired by Ben Mead, who you may have met last year at Cocodona 250. He was Tony Gillam's pacer. Ben used to do a podcast called Chasing Cutoffs, which was all about those of us at the back of the pack, that are not that fast. And I connected with Ben and I said, I'm a silly out of work actor with all this recording equipment. Why don't I do a podcast? I like to chat and I like to get to know people. So that's how this podcast got started. I interview all kinds of people. I interviewed Tony last year and Ben after he finished Cocodona 250. And then I interviewed Dylan and Drew, who filmed you for the Cutoff. In fact, they sent me advanced screening of the Cutoff. Oh my God. Wynonna, I cried like half a dozen times. It was so, Lynn, everybody, you, Missy, Tony, it was so well done. So I know you've probably seen it a bunch of times. So I've also interviewed Tim Tollefson, who is not a back of the packer, but somebody who likes to say yes and just do these things. So that's what I'm about. I'm kind of you'll find I'm an optimist. I'll probably cry 3 or 4 times during this. I'm kind of a goofball. This will be very casual, but I want my audience to get to know you, to get to know your story and your culture. And I want to talk specifically about last year's Cocodona 250. And this year's challenge. Did you come up with a name for what you did this year? Is there a name for this now?
I actually have two. So one of them is Brad Shadona, and the other and the other was Brute Dona. So, because yeah,
Dona.
yeah,
Oh, I love it.
yeah, I just had to figure out a way to say, oh, I ran Bradshaw and Sedona Canyon. So I just try to mess with the names and blend them together. So.
That is awesome. Did anyone else do that this year? Are you the first one?
As far as I know, I wasn't told otherwise. I've been the only one so far. So, yeah.
So technically, Wynonna, you have the course record for the Brute Dona.
That's pretty
I
cool.
love it. You have the course record, which is great for us back of the Packers.
Yeah.
Do you consider yourself a back of the Packer, or you don't even think about that? You just run.
I just run. I usually just try and stay ahead of cutoffs, which is kind of what a back of the Packer does. But, yeah, like my students ask me all the time, did you win? I'm like, if you ask if I'm finished, then yes, I finished.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's funny. So I like to start these with a silly little icebreaker. And I kind of learned this. I think we did it at work one day at my corporate job. But I like to ask people to describe to me, my audience, in one word, Wynonna, as a runner. Give me one word as you as a runner.
I don't even know. I would say resilient.
Yep. It makes you think. And there's no wrong answers. It's just kind of a check with your gut and see what comes out type of thing. And somebody did a phrase last week too, and I'm totally fine with that. Now I like to flip it around. Give me, and sometimes it's exactly the same word. Sometimes it's completely different. Give me one word that describes you as just a person.
I would say I'm very see the cup half full type of person, if that makes sense.
Optimist.
Yes, optimist. Yes. Yeah.
Thank you. That's me.
Yeah.
That's me. I always tell people I wear orange. I've always got a little bit of orange on somewhere on my body because I believe that's the color of optimism. And boy, man, if you get super bored, I've got a whole podcast I did on that early on, Wynonna. So sometimes you're called Tish too. Is that a nickname or is where did that name come from?
It's my middle name. It's what I grew up, like my family calling me. And I actually didn't know my name was Wynonna until I went to kindergarten.
There you go.
And I thought my teacher had given me a new name, but it actually wasn't the case. It was my first name. So... yeah.
It was your first name.
Yeah.
Wonderful. My name is Joseph.
Okay.
And I grew up 6 kids, youngest of 6 kids. But my mom and dad, from day one, they're like, he's Joey.
Yeah.
And so now I'm 58 years old, and I am a Joey, and I will be a Joey till the day I go. So there you are.
Yeah.
So I listened to a few of your podcasts in the last couple of days. You've done two or three of them, right? You've done some others?
Yes.
Or have you done
I've done 3. One hasn't come out yet. Yeah.
And I just love your storytelling. I absolutely love it. So I'm going to try to not, I have a tendency to talk too much, and I'm going to try to watch myself because I want to hear from you. Usually in these things, I start with my guests talking about, a lot of us didn't do running as kids. A lot of us back of the Packers, we weren't born running, 4-minute miles. We weren't doing soccer, some of us. I was a nerd, band, theater guy. But now as an adult, I'm finding myself more athletic, doing these crazy long runs. For you as a kid, first thing I want to ask, did you do much as a young kid in terms of organized sports or athletics, or what was that like?
I know like elementary school age, I was just always an active person. Growing up without running water, electricity, you find yourself outside a lot. We had animals to tend to. So it was a very active lifestyle. You haul your own water, building that strength and endurance. We lived about 2 miles from the main highway where the bus picks us up. So my sisters and I walked to the bus 2 miles. And I like to exaggerate to my kids, like it's uphill both ways. So, but it's not. But and yeah, we really had to be resilient and figure out, problem solve. Like when it snowed, like, okay, we got to leave maybe 45 minutes earlier. If it rained, like take extra shoes so you don't have muddy shoes at school. It wasn't until maybe elementary school when they had they called them after school activities, trying to figure out basketball is pretty cool, soccer's cool, but basketball is where I really started to pick up organized sports. And during field day, my 5th grade year, they needed a last relay person for the 400. And I wore sandals that day. And they said, hey, Wynonna, go be the last one to run in. I didn't exactly know what that meant, and that I just hold this baton and go. And so I did, and we ended up getting first. And the PE coach had said, "You're fast. Do you run?" And I'm like, "No." I didn't really understand the question. Yeah, I run around, but not on an organized team or anything. And I think just him saying, "You're fast," that kind of gave me that desire to figure out or to join sports. And so when I entered middle school, I played volleyball, basketball, and I ran track. And coaches wanted me to do long distance because I was okay, holding a really good mile time. But I think the sprinting coach wanted me to be on the relay team, and I was more of a sprinter than I was a long distance runner. I loved running long distance. I never had a watch to really see what my pace was or how long I was really running. But when I think back on the trails I used to run, I'm like, that was a really long trail. That might have been a half marathon. But back then we didn't have watches to tell us the distance or pace. So, so it was field day when I really had that kind of I wonder how much more faster I could be. Or I think just the coaches, him paying attention to the fact that, I ran this in sandals as well, was just interesting to me. And yeah, that's how I ended up really, if I had to pinpoint that organized sports, what motivated me, that would have been elementary school, 5th grade year. So
now I want to talk about what really motivated you. And I've heard this story on a couple of your podcasts, and I think you even talked a little bit about it in the Cutoff too. But I know when you were growing up, and please give details on the ceremony, because I didn't know anything about this. I'm just a dumb guy. I have no idea. But there is a ceremony for young women when you go through puberty. And that ceremony, I know you talked about it in length on the Women Running podcast, I think it was. Tell us about that ceremony, all the details and your stories of that, and how that, I think it really shaped you in terms of a runner, in terms of a person, a mother, and just everything. So tell my listeners what that ceremony is and your details of you going through that.
So just like I had mentioned before, I think organized sports and just joining a team was really introduced elementary, middle school. And running was just more of getting from point A to point B, or, running around a track to place, and it wasn't until I had started menstruating around 12 when my parents had given me the choice to either do we call it the Kinaaldá ceremony. So it's a coming of age ceremony, and it's a 4-day ceremony. It takes the young girl through a journey with herself, and it helps her process that transition of becoming a young girl to a woman. So she's learning how to cook. She's learning how to, keep up the house, tend to her animals, just being independent, not just in a sense of like the physical act of being independent, but learning how to pray for yourself, learning how to think for yourself. And you really do spend a lot of time by yourself. So a lot of the times the young woman is in a hogan. That's the traditional Navajo home place, and it's ground dirt floor. And she's grinding corn the 4 days. So this is traditionally corn that has been grown from the family's cornfield. It's roasted, and she's grinding enough cornmeal to make a cake in the ground. And that cake in the ground is supposed to symbolize that transition. I am no longer no longer a girl. I'm a young woman now. And she's not allowed to eat her own cake. She gives it to the community. She gives it to the people who have helped. She gives it to the medicine man, this people who sang for her the traditional songs. And she gives it to people who had brought wood, who had brought food to help, that have donated. So it's really a ceremony that helps develop that sense of not being selfish. And there are like different taboos that come with, there's different sayings of like, well, if you eat your own cake, you're going to be greedy, you're going to get old fast, you're going to lose your teeth. I think there were like taboos just to ensure that the young woman like keeps that, the essence of being like a giving person, like not, it's not about her, but about the community. And it really is a community ceremony because it's a very big ceremony, and they're feeding people that come. So she has to be very selfless of her time, of how she spends her time. She's kind of like devoting herself to other people, creating that sense of, I guess also like that motherly responsibility. I don't like saying that word because it's not. It's like me being a mother, I don't feel responsible for my children. It's such a it's a deeper meaning than that. Like I am, but it's like such a deeper like connection I have with my own children. But it's a very long process. But when the young girl is going through all of, having to tend to people and making sure her home is clean, there are certain parts of the day that she has to run. And she runs to the east. And before dawn, so it's dark, and then noon, and then before the sun sets. And each time she's going further, each time. And on the final night, she has to sit up all night. And they sing the traditional songs, they pray, and they're praying about different things they want for her. So they sing about the home, they sing about planting in the cornfield, they sing about animals that provide the food for you, or getting from, traditionally, like you have a horse that's getting you from point A to point B, just the things they want. And you can request different things as well. But it's really to set her up for life. And during that time, she has to sit up. She can't lean against the wall. She has to sit with her back straight, her feet out straight. And it's almost like building that endurance within your body. I mean, you can imagine like a 12-year-old, someone who is just transitioning from everything being done for her. And then now suddenly she's having to sit up for herself. She has to speak for herself. She has to tend to other people. And so it develops this sense of independence, but also that endurance of spirituality and the emotional endurance of being independent, and that mentality of, oh my gosh, I'm so sleepy, but you can't sleep. You have to, you're building, they tell you that you're molding yourself into who the person you want to be. And so you're sitting there tired and you're just like, man, I want to close my eyes so bad. But do I want to be that person that's just going to give into that? You know, like you start to think about these different things. And I remember specifically just before, so they wash your hair in the morning, and the washing of the hair takes place, and they use the yucca soap, and that's supposed to symbolize the washing of the girl off of you. So it's like, okay, now you wash your hair. When we're done washing your hair, you're no longer a young girl. You're a young woman. So that's as the sun's coming up. And then once they wash your hair, you go out to the east and you run your longest run that you can. And you, mind you, like you have sat up all night, you're sleepy, you're hungry, you're probably cold, because my ceremony took place early March and it was a blizzard that night. And I'm like, okay, now I got to go out. My hair's wet and I'm freezing. And you have to be very vigilant of your traditional outfit, because you have all this jewelry on you, and you have to be very aware, like when you're running, like you can't lose anything. So you have to be, again, responsible for yourself. And after I had my hair washed, I remember thinking like, okay, now I'm awake. Like that water felt so good. I'm awake. I can do this. And the medicine man said, okay, now go run. And remember to run as far as you can. And they open the door and you can't see anything but white. And I was like,
oh no.
Oh, okay. And it's dark. You can't see. I mean, like you can see, but you like the sun's barely coming up. And the community, your family members, your friends, they follow you to support you. And I could hear everyone behind me. And then it started getting quieter and quieter. And then I'm like, okay, and you can't turn around, because the whole point of you moving forward is that we don't look back. So you can't, I can't look back to see who's behind me, but I can hear, and I'm like, I don't hear anyone behind me. But I keep going. And I remember someone yelling out, turn around. And in my mind, I'm like, no, I'm going to go further. I think it was just that, like, the sense of like, because you said turn around, now I'm going to go further. Now I'm going to keep going. And sure. So I kept going, and I was alone. I couldn't hear anyone around me. It just became so surreal. Like, it wasn't the fact that I was like, I guess it didn't feel like scary. It didn't feel like I was alone. It felt like this sense of accomplishment in a way that I now understand why I had to do this. I now understand what I need to do to get through life. I now understand why I had to endure this week. And it wasn't like a way of like, oh my gosh, I'm glad that's over. It was like, I was able to experience this beautiful ceremony that not many people get to do. And I turned around and saw no one behind me. And I think they actually, so when you follow the runner, you can't go back. You have to wait until she comes back, because then you're crossing her path. She has to retrace her path, and you have to follow her, because otherwise, it's not a good thing if you turn around before she comes back. So everyone had to wait until.
What if there's a blizzard?
Exactly. Oh. And so everyone had to wait until I turned around. And I think at that point, I kind of felt bad, but I was really proud of myself that I don't even know how far I ran. You can't even see a few feet in front of you. And I remember hearing my hair, because I had just got my hair washed before I left. It was like icicles, so you could hear it on my back. And I entered the Hogan, and the medicine man says, "We ran out of songs to sing. How far did you go?" And I didn't know what to say. And I just came in, did what I was supposed to do. But it was just I look back at, I use that ceremony in my everyday life. And I really do think that there is meaning behind that. Especially when I'm out there on the trails, I think of the songs that were sung. I think of the people that supported me, the people that really wanted me to do well and whatever it is I chose to do, and they were there to support me. And so I think of those songs. I think of those prayers. I think of being in that blizzard, but still moving forward, and it really has shaped the person that I am today. And I'm just so blessed and thankful that I was able to experience that. And not a lot of people get to run in the snow and blizzard. Sometimes they have to run in the heat in the summertime. But I think when I think back, the weather, I got all kinds of weather that week. I got rain, I got snow, I got hail. And I thought it was very ironic that my first year of running Cocodona, that's exactly what we got. And it was very comical to me on my way to Lane Mountain. I was just like, this is awesome. Like, this is everything that I could hope for, to experience Cocodona this way. And yeah, so that was the start of me really understanding that running was more than just movement. It was more than just getting from point A to point B, or even just competing. It developed a deeper meaning. At a young age, I think, high school, middle school, it was more of like keeping myself grounded, not being influenced by things that were going around me that were negative. My father was an alcoholic, so not really using that to make excuses to make irresponsible choices. And I raised my younger sisters. My mom had 3 jobs. My dad was in and out of our lives. And so it was a way for me to really center myself and ground myself and not lean into other toxicities, like family toxicities, family cycles, family addiction cycles. And it really helped me in that way through middle school and high school. And then becoming a mother, it changed. It becomes something else. It becomes something even deeper and meaningful. It's like, okay, now I'm running to be the best mom I can be. I'm running to be the best wife I can be. Like, what cycles am I going to break that my children don't have to experience that I experience, And it changes, but it has the same effect for me of like the grounding, the center. But as I go through life, the different cycles of life, it changes with that in terms of what I need at that time. And sometimes I don't realize it until I'm in the middle of it. And I'm like, thank you. Thank you for showing me that. Thank you for revealing that, helping me discover that part of myself. So, yeah.
Yeah. I'm so struck when you talk about that. Now, you say that not everyone does that ceremony. Was it your mom that pushed for you to do that, since your dad was kind of in and out of your lives?
So my mom and dad were very supportive in myself and my younger sisters. If we wanted to run, they supported that. If we wanted to play basketball, they supported that. And they introduced us to traditional types of living, so like ceremony. And they said, well, we can do this ceremony, but it's up to you. Because I really do appreciate that they gave me that choice, because it allowed me to take full responsibility of being immersed in that, rather than we're going to do this for you. And then you're like, well, I don't want to, but I'm going to do it. And then not have your whole heart in it. You know what I mean? So I really do feel like them giving me a choice allowed me to make that first decision of being independent and taking responsibility over owning that part of myself as being a Navajo woman or transitioning into that. And I think at the time as well, like it really laid the foundation of how am I going to be a mother as well if I cannot understand these things, if I don't experience it myself. And so, I mean, just like I said, like it can be a whole like topic of conversation, but
yeah. I am struck by how symbolic and how everything about that ceremony has such profound meaning, and you take with you for the rest of your life, just all the little things together. And I think how a culture designs that must take a long time, and it's so thoughtful, and I appreciate you telling that, because I didn't know anything about that. Do they do anything like that then for young boys becoming men? Is there, and you don't have to go into great detail, but what's that ceremony like, and when does that happen?
So for the boys, their puberty ceremony starts when their voice starts to change. So when their voice gets deeper, that's the kind of like the transition from boy to young man, and they go through a sweat lodge. So they have mentors, and they sit in a sweat lodge, and each sweat lodge represents a different part of their lives, and their mentors are mentoring them in that process. But the boys also run. So after each session, whether it be an hour, 2 hours, 3 hours, 4 hours, they go and run as well. So, and then the final night, same thing. They have to sit up all night and run again. Yep.
Yeah. As a kid, I didn't, no one told me to run. They said, go play with your Legos in your room. That was the extent of my youth. That is awesome. I want to keep going, but thank you for going into detail on that, because I just love it. So, and you've talked about this. So you do the running as a kid, and then later in life when do you do your first 5K? And I know you've talked about this, and how did that come about? Tell that story briefly.
Oh my gosh, I don't even recall. I know it was after I had my first child. So kind of backstory, my senior year of high school, I tore my ACL playing basketball at the beginning of the season. And I really struggled with, I guess I kind of went into a depression, because I felt like I was identified as an athlete. Like I played basketball, volleyball, I ran. And when that had happened, I kind of felt like I didn't know who I was, because then I was not active. I was in a knee brace for 12 weeks, and in my mind, I'm thinking like, oh, just do the surgery and then I can go run at state, or I could play for regionals, but not understanding the extent of what it means to have a major knee surgery. I didn't get to finish out my basketball season. I didn't get to run my final year of track. And that was really hard for me, especially knowing that I wasn't going to, who knew if I was going to play sports again after high school? You never know. And I had planned to join the Air Force Academy. That changed. And so I had wanted to do that since I was a little girl. And that identity changed. Like, who am I going to be after high school now? I can't play sports. I don't get to be who I want to be. And it was very difficult and very challenging to really figure out like who I was. And graduate high school, and I have my baby, and then I kind of get in this kind kind of like this depressive phase where, because I'm not active anymore. Like, I don't know, what can I do? Not realizing like, oh, I could join rec leagues, but I'm coming from the reservation to the city, and I'm like, I'm not very aware of like what that means, what that entails. And a friend had told me that she was going to run a 5K, and I was like, oh, yeah, let's. She invited me, and I was like, okay. And then so I started training, and it was very different the way I had to move my body, because I was so used to being fast. I was used to like the fast cuts and everything, and this was like, okay, now I'm getting used to this new way of moving. I called it my new knee, and yeah, it was just, that was my first 5K, and it felt good. And I was like, okay, maybe I can do this, and not thinking about all the times that I've trained on the trail back at home, not realizing maybe you ran a full marathon, you don't know, but this 5K was huge for me. And I was like, I felt like that was the longest I've ever ran, like fastest, longest organized thing since high school that I ran, and it felt good. And so that's kind of when that started. That was after my second knee surgery, actually, because within a year, my ACL, so they used my patellar tendon, that deteriorated within a year. And so I had to get a second knee surgery. And so that one's still pretty good. So obviously, I'm just kidding. Yeah.
Ouch.
So, yeah.
How long from then until you do your first 50K, and how, I think you did it with your mom, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Tell me the story of how you guys found out about that and what made you decide to do that.
So I would say that first 5K, it was only when I had my first baby. I have 5. So it would have to have been when he was younger than 4. So 2006 to 2008 was that first 5K. And then my mom wanted to run a 50K before she turned 50. I didn't know what a 50K was. I'm like, oh, that sounds pretty cool. She said, there's one in Monument Valley. I said, I've never been. I've only been there for track meets, but never got to explore, Monument Valley, even though it's 3 hours from where I live. She said, the race organization is giving discounts for the local people. So she said, it's $10 for the both of us. I said, let's do it. And so that's how we got in. And my mom was actually the one that researched on like how to train for an ultra. And looking back now and being a certified coach, we overtrained, we underfueled, just everything that you're not supposed to do. But we did it. And yeah, it was a very beautiful experience to run that with my mom. It was tough because of underfueling and, not balancing out electrolytes and water. I was cramping from mile 20 to 33. My mom was cramping, and yeah, we got through it. I think that was the very first time. It was the last quarter of a mile, because you go up this mesa. And I'm like, who puts a finish line at the top of a hill after you run 30 miles?
Daybreak Racing does. They do
Yeah.
that at the Backcountry Rise. That's
Yeah.
another story.
And so I'm on my way up. And this is the first time I've ever felt the feeling of wanting to quit. As hard as and as challenging as things have been in my life up to that point, I had never felt that feeling of, I just want to stop. I don't want to feel this anymore. And that broke me. I stopped and I cried. And I didn't know what to do, because this is a new feeling for me. I don't know what it feels like to quit. I don't know what it feels like to just stop and not continue. And my mom said, drink some water. So there's really the significance of water and the Diné culture. And she said, drink water. And she poured it on me. And I really feel like that kind of rejuvenated something inside me. And I remember like opening my eyes and like refocusing and then hearing my children run down the hill and saying, Mom, come on, you can do it. And I think that's when I was just like, this is no longer about me anymore. When I feel like quitting, they are the ones that push me forward. And they ran the rest of the way with me. And I remember that all the time, and especially when it gets hard out there, I get that feeling of they're watching, they are learning. And there are times, yes, like there are times when you have to, obviously when you're injured, when you can't hold down food, like those are safety concerns, those are health concerns. But this was just being so uncomfortable with that pain that it was just like, I've never felt what quitting felt like until that moment. And I was very thankful that I did, because now I know that what my breaking point is. And each time it feels like it gets harder to get to that point. It takes longer to get to that point. And it's an amazing feeling, because then it's like I go back to that moment and think, what if I didn't? I was a quarter of a mile from the finish line. And what if I just stopped? Like, what could have happened? Could I have experienced Cocodona the way I did? Could I have had all these other opportunities to explore and have adventures, And it really did. That race specifically changed me. And like I said, like there's always that moment where you think of significantly that changed from that point. So, but yeah, that was a really, really good experience.
That's interesting you say about finding, your breaking point and then keep pushing that forward. Tony Gillum, who when he did a podcast years ago with Ben Mead, that's how they met. He talked about that. He was in the armed forces, and when he got back home, he couldn't find anything that pushed that button, pushed him far enough, got him in the pain cave far enough. So he kept doing longer and longer distances until he wound up with you at the Cocodona 250. And he has, I don't know, you've seen the movie, Tony, some of the best quotes. I titled his podcast The Long Miserable Fun, because that's what he calls it. I just love that image. So that's great. So that's your first 50K. You're launched. You're in this now. You're like, do you immediately, Wynonna, go, well, you just said, I've reached my limit. I got to find a new limit. Do you right away start thinking I want to go farther distances, or that 100K, does that come right away, or does it take a while before you build up to go to 100K?
So the 50K happened in 2016. I was in school, so I was getting my teaching degree. So I had my plate pretty full. And it wasn't until 2022 or 23 when I had seen an opportunity through the Native Women Run Instagram posts saying they're looking for runners and they want these distances. If you're able to, we'd love for you to experience this. And so I was like, you know what? I'm gonna apply. And I signed up for a 50K. I'm like, I know I can do a 50K, so I'm going to do this. And then it bothered me. I don't know why. And I was talking to my husband. I was like, I don't know why it's bothering me. And he's like, well, and he's very good. We've known each other since we were 14. So he knows my quirks. He knows how to ask me questions. He's like, okay, well, what's bothering you? Is it the fact that you registered? Or I was like, no. And he has a way of allowing me to talk out loud my thoughts. And I said, I know I can do a 50K. It's bothering me that I signed up for a 50K. And he looked confused, like, well, yeah. And I was like, if I'm given this opportunity, I want to push myself. I think I'm going to do the 100K. And he was like, okay. And then again, I'm like, I don't actually know how much a 50K or 100K is. Math teacher over here, duh, just double it.
That's the best.
And I was like, okay, well, and so I contacted Wynonna Fulgham, who is the co-founder of Native Women Run, and I was like, hey, would it be okay if I switch my distance? And she said, yeah, just contact the race director, and he'll go ahead and do that for you. And I felt like I was getting a little annoying at that point, because then I said, do you think it's going to be a good idea if I go 100K? She's like, I don't know. You're running it. And I was just like, yeah. I was trying to get that validation of like, no, you should probably stick to the 50K if you've done a 50K. So it was like trying to look for that support of like, please back me out of it. But nope. She said, you're running it. I don't know. And I was like, okay, that was very like straightforward. I'm going to run it then. And so I informed my mom, and she was like, okay, well, I'm going to crew you and let's go. And so that took place in Zion. And yeah, that was my first 100K. And then after that, yeah.
Sky's the limit.
Yeah.
Before we go on to some of your other races, because we're going to get here to Cocodona pretty quick, you've talked about this. You dedicate your races to a cause a lot of times. And
Yeah.
I know the first 50K you did, you dedicated that to, and you're telling me these, I'm listening to these things, so then I'm looking them up. Missing and Murdered Indigenous Women, you dedicated that first one to. And I pulled up some of the stats, Wynonna, and it's heartbreaking. In Canada, it's really a problem, and it is in the U.S. too. So, and I'm going to have links to some of these organizations and causes so people can look at them. What did you dedicate the 100K race to again?
It was for oh my
Is that
gosh.
the one for natives, the boarding schools, the Native American boarding school children?
So for the boarding school children, that was Saddles, the 50 miler at Saddles, because it took place on Orange Day, so Orange T-shirt Day. So that I dedicated it to that. It was for it was for the boarding school, because I remember.
Okay.
Yeah, I remember specifically at one point I just broke down crying, thinking of all the babies that didn't make it home, and all of the parents waiting for their babies to come home.
I looked up some of the stats on that, and they said there was like at one point 20,000 kids, and they don't know what happened.
No,
they don't know. I mean, that's just, I don't know. It's horrifying to me. It's horrifying to me. Okay, so you've done your first 100K. Eventually you do a 100-miler, and then I want to talk about, and maybe this was after that, I want to talk about Missy. At some point, if anybody's seen the Cutoff, in my audience, my God, I hope you've seen the Cutoff, because I've talked about it. I had Dylan and Drew on together. In the Cutoff, you and Missy, you're a couple of the stars in there. And obviously I follow you both on Instagram, and I know you know each other and you run together. Tell us the story of how you guys met and how you became such great cohorts in running adventures.
We had met on a random running meetup. It was a Native Woman Run event that's, hey, we're meeting up at Mount Ward. Come if you can. And I thought it was this is when I really started getting into like really wanting to immerse myself in the community. Like, what does it mean to train for an ultra, And so, go with like-minded people. And so we met up at Mount Ord, and Mount Ord is like a 6.5 mile trek up this mountain. And we went, and that's when we first met. And it was actually on a Mother's Day weekend 3 years ago. And I feel like I've known her way longer. And I call her my soul sister. I call her my twin, because people get us confused all the time. But I think from there, we ended up realizing that we had the same desires and goals as far as what we wanted to do. And we got to experience Trans Rockies in Colorado through Native Women Run. later that year. We became very close. We got to sleep together in a tent, run those miles together. And then that's when it really started, because we were talking to other runners, and simultaneously we were like, yeah, like I'm thinking about Cocodona. And we both just looked at each other like, you want to do Cocodona? And we're like, yeah. You want to do Cocodona? I was like, yeah, let's do it. And so we're like, you know what? Let's manifest it. Let's say we're going to run Cocodona within the next year or two. And I'm like, okay, everything from here is going to be what we're going to build for that. And, we've gone on training runs together. And then the following year, we experienced Trans Rockies again, but the 6th day. And that's 120-mile stage race, and through the Rockies, and beautiful experience, so fun. And I said, you know what? I have a feeling we're going to run it. And she's like, yeah, I do too. And I'm like, okay, we're going to run this. Let's manifest this again. And so we did. And then later that year, she says, guess what? And I already knew. And I was like, you got Cocodona. She's like, I got into Cocodona. I was like, that's amazing. I was like, now I want to get in. I'm like, how do I get in? And so I applied for the Cthulhu scholarship, and a few friends and family members had nominated me as well to run it. And I ended up getting the scholarship. And of course I have to call her, and I'm like, guess what? She's like, you got in. I was like, yes, I did. And we were just so excited. And of course, like, our community, our group of friends, our family are like, what do we need to do? Do you need a crew? Mm-hmm. Do you need a pacer? And, for something as big as Cocodona, it's really difficult to ask someone, hey, take off work and pace me, take off work and crew me for 5 or 6 days. And it's like, well, you have family, you have work, but the fact that they were just so willing without even second guessing, like, what do you need us to do? What do you need? And it was just so amazing to have that support, to have that community. And it just made it even that much sweeter, we're going to do this. We have the support, and we manifested this, and yeah, this is going to happen. And it was amazing. So
for my audience, the 2 or 3 who have not watched the Cutoff, you will see both Missy. That's how I got to know of you. You will see both of them in the Cutoff. You guys didn't run always like side by side together, did you? Because there was in the Cutoff, it was like, it didn't look like you guys were always like at the aid stations at the same time, right?
No. So she is a faster downhiller. I'm a faster uphiller. So I'll catch her on the uphill. She'll catch me on the downhill. And it's funny. It's just like inside joke we have. I'll like go up the hill, and she's like, all right, I'll see you on the downhill. I was like, okay. But we really do have this unspoken like language. We both, I think, just kind of read each other's minds when we know, like, hey, I'm locked in. I'm going to head out. And it's like, okay, like, we don't get offended. It's like, you do you. I think that first day, because it was just so new as far as like what we were getting into, we kind of stuck by each other just to help each other through that first night. We stayed together mostly through the night. During the daytime, she was ahead of me, then I would get ahead, and then we got together. So she's a lot stronger night runner than I am. I'm like Wally. Like, once that sun sets, my battery drains. And I felt so bad because she was like another dirt nap. I'm like, you can go. Like, I will catch you. She's like, I'm not leaving you. I'm like, go. Like, you don't have to wait for me. But she's like, I'm not leaving you. So, yeah. And then once we got to Whiskey Row, no, it was after Jerome. Once we got down to Jerome, that's when she went ahead of me. By that point, I needed like a 45-minute nap because I was staggering, I was hallucinating, and she went ahead, and that's where we where she pulled ahead. And then I felt like she just kept getting further and further away. And it wasn't until Walnut Canyon where I finally caught up with her. But she still left ahead of me. Yeah. So, but yeah.
Your crew, your husband's name is Nick, right?
Yes.
'Cause I've seen he's adorable. I've seen him on Instagram posting things when you're running. Was he your crew? Is he your crew captain? Is he there with the kids? Who's crewing you?
So he plays a very important role in this whole journey. He actually stays home with the kids and he holds down the fort. He unfortunately feels like he misses out on a lot of like being out there with me, but I told him like what you do helps me out there because I know our children are being taken care of. I don't have to worry if they're being fed, if they're going to bed on time, if their homework's being done. I said, you do way more than you think. And I appreciate him so much for that. And my mom and my aunt are my crew. If they had a name, it would be, you know how they have 2 men in a truck? They would be 2 women in a truck. They have it down.
I love it.
Yeah.
I love it. I interviewed Susie Lurie, who is DFL at Cocodona 250 this year, and she's in Minnesota. She's my neighbor. Did not even know about her, and then I had to look her up. I was like, dang, girl, I didn't even know you ran. So she has the same thing. Her husband stays home. They have kids, and he stays home with the kids while she does Cocodona because somebody's got to do that. So he's a saint for doing that. I want to ask about. This is so beautiful in the film, and I here again, I just want to be educated because I don't understand the drumming and you call it the smudging with the smoke. Talk a little bit about what that is and what it means and what it represents. Because I think it was your mom doing that, right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So smudging, it can take place anytime. We do it daily here at home, and it's really a way of like cleansing. I guess if you would say like cleansing your aura, cleansing your spirit. We are not very aware of where our feet are walking. We don't know if we are walking on sacred land. We don't know if, things have been buried under the feet or the ground we walk on. And so we cleanse our bodies and our spirit so that my mom calls them hitchhikers, so that whatever may have attached themselves, like an entity that we might not be aware of or don't feel, like we say, hey, like you don't serve my body, like we're not taking that with us. It could also be just thoughts, like those negative, dark thoughts that sneak in every now and then. And then there's the times where you want to bring like blessings to yourself. You want to bring in that morning dawn, like you got to see another morning, you're taking it all in. You got to see your family, you got to speak to them. It's all these little things that you really take time to just take it in and bring it to your center, bring it to your body so that you can absorb, if you were to say like energy, then that is what a lot of, at least for me, that's what I do. And also like praying for a safe journey, praying that, I make it to point A to point B until I see them again. And when we pray, the smoke, the prayers go into the smoke and the smoke goes to the Creator. So that's how that's taking place as well. The drumming has so many meanings. For me, when I run, I always feel like it's kind of like an out-of-body experience. Like your spirit kind of takes over and your body's just following along. And when you hear the drum, it's almost like, now I can come back to my center. Now I can get grounded in, do what I need to do here, reground, and then go again. The drumming can also be the awakening of the ancient DNAs that's in your body. Like, remember, you you have ancestral lineage that have walked 400 miles in the long walk. You can do this. Like, just that reminder. It also reminds us to walk with the heartbeat of Mother Earth, you know, like the rhythm of nature, the rhythm of even your own heartbeat. So there's just so many things that tie into that, is like not one specific thing. And it might be different for someone else. And at the very end, you can see on my face, like I'm looking around, like, am I really here? Like, or am I sleeping on a trail somewhere? This is so surreal. Like, I can't believe I've done this. And that drumming and feeling the vibrations of that drum just reminded me, like, I'm here. I actually did it. And I think you can see kind of that pause of like, oh my gosh, I'm here. And then it was just like the emotions start coming. Like, it kind of like brings my body or my spirit back to my body and be like, you're home. You did it. So.
Yeah. That makes total sense to me. I think about, I love drums, and I think about all the cultures where drumming is so important. You look at, I have a friend of mine, she leads a Korean drum troupe here in the Twin Cities, and you have it in African cultures in Australia and the native cultures. It's just such a powerful, like when you said the heartbeat of the earth, I love that, because it's like, maybe that's why we are so moved by it and so grounded. I don't want to talk through the whole 2025 Cocodona race, because you can watch the movie and you can see all the drama. But there is a moment that you talked about in a previous podcast that I'd like for you to touch on, if you would, because I was really moved. You talk about this moment, and this is, folks, this is probably, 200 miles into the race, getting close to the end. You're going from Kelly Canyon to Fort Tuthill, and you had a long night getting to Kelly Canyon. And so I imagine you're going in the middle of the night from Kelly Canyon to Fort Tuthill. You're having a tough time. Tell us about that moment. And I think this, it's just before sunrise, and tell me that story.
So, like you said, it was a rough night. I had just made the Kelly Canyon cutoff by like 6 minutes. And forgetting the fact that my crew couldn't be there, I was telling my patient, like, can I have this, and this ready? And so she called my mom, and she was like, you could tell she didn't know how to tell me. She was like, they're not allowed at Kelly Canyon. And I think that just kind of like spirit breaker even more. Like, I'm not going to make this cutoff. My crew can't be there, but I get there and I'm like, okay, getting it all together. Andrew Bradford was the film person who was following Missy and I around.
Was Andrew? All right.
Andrew, yeah. And he was sending messages. We were sending messages through him. So he was literally like our Pony Express, and when I got there, I was deep in that moment of like, I can't believe I just barely made it. I'm tired. I'm hungry. Like all these things. And you can see it in the film. And that's when he asks, like, what do you want to tell her? And I said, tell her that I'm proud of her and that I love her. And he turns off the camera and he says, remember your why. And I was like, okay. And he says, I just remember you like crying, and you take a deep breath and then you go. And then I left Kelly Canyon Aid Station wanting to take a dirt nap so bad, like just wanting all these things. I wanted my crew there. I'm still in my night clothes. It's hot. And I'm crying. And I just happen to look up and I see the mountain, our sacred mountain for the Diné culture. And that's our mountain to the west. And I couldn't help but feel a sense of, I'm coming home. And what had came to me in that moment was imagining what my ancestors had felt like during the long walk when they were no longer in captivity. which actually the treaty of that just took place on June 1st. And imagining what it felt like for them traveling 400 miles from where they were captive, going back home and seeing that mountain to the east and thinking, we are almost home. And the amount of pain that I felt, my feet, my being exhausted, sleepy, and being hungry, once I thought of that, it was like I no longer felt that. It was like my ancestors endured so much more in order for me to be here. They were so determined to get back home that it didn't matter what it took. Some of them may be walking without shoes, cold, and that reminded me of how resilient my lineage is. That reminded me that I could do this. That reminded me of how far I had already come in the race, despite chasing cutoffs. And it really did light that fire back in me that I can do this. I think I was really worried about making the cutoffs because I had just barely made that. And now going back, and it was very kind of like a turning point in the race where I knew that I just have to keep moving forward, just like they did, just with all their prayers and the songs they sang to come home. Like, that's in me, that's going to bring me home. And knowing that the mountain is there, like I'm literally coming home to my ancestral land. And so it was just more significant in more than one way. So it was a beautiful experience. Yeah.
Wow. I got even more choked up this time when you told it, when I heard it on your other podcast. It's just it's so powerful. I can't even describe it. Thank you. Thank you for telling that. So you finished the race. You do beat the cutoffs. Spoiler alert. I wrote down here, Tony, and did you ever run with Tony, or did you not really know about him until the film came out?
No, I don't. I was more, I remember Aylin and Rob more and Liz more. Yeah. I think I was like way behind.
When I interviewed, it's not funny, but when I interviewed Dylan and Drew, he was visibly distraught when Aylin didn't make it. Like, they were like, oh God. I told them, I said, when I watched it I said, who edited your film? And we talked about that. I said, the scene they do with Aylin, where, the scene I'm talking about? Mm-hmm. I said, I freaking bawled.
Yeah.
I absolutely bawled. They just did such a good job with that.
They did.
Telling all your guys' stories. It's so powerful. So you finish, you beat the cutoff, you finish 15 minutes behind Tony.
Oh, I didn't know that.
15 minutes ahead of Missy.
Yeah.
You finished ahead of Missy.
Yeah.
Did you guys all hang out at the finish line waiting for each other? You guys at the back?
So
what was the finish like for you?
It was, like I said, it was very surreal. Once you make that last steep hill before you get on top of Buffalo Park, I think once I got to the top, I really didn't know what to expect as far as, am I going to walk in? Am I going to run? And then I started thinking, what if this is the last time I ever get to experience this? How do I want that to feel like? And I was like, I'm gonna leave it all out here. My husband always tells me that, leave it all out there. Leave it out there. And I'm like, okay, then we're running. And so I start running, and I hear people yelling at the end. And I get closer and closer, and it's my two older kids. And I thought they weren't able to make it because my daughter had a state track meet the day before. And I thought she had made finals, so she would have to stay Saturday. But I think she intentionally didn't because she wanted to be there, but she'll never tell me. But they ended up making it late that night, Friday, and they were waiting at Buffalo Park for me. And I think that even like drove me to run even faster because I could hear, "Go, Mom." And I was like, oh my gosh. And I started crying. I started bawling because my son had went to college. And that was very hard for me. And to have him there, not realizing that he was going to be there, was very touching for me and very exciting for me. And then seeing my daughter, and they ran with me for a little bit. And then they said, "We'll see you at the finish." They jumped in the ride. And that was like really motivating for me too, to like finish faster. And I get closer to the finish line and I'm making my descent right there by the hospital. And I start crying again, and it's kind of silly because I started thinking about what it took to get there, like the training, the sacrifices, the nights missed reading to my kids, tucking them in bed, or the early mornings, the consistency of training. And then I think I was going to miss that. And I was going to miss Cocodona, like miss being out there. Like I loved it out there, and crying because I'm never going to feel this way again. This first time feeling this again. Like, when am I going to feel this again? When am I going to feel like training for something so big and actually doing it and finishing? Like, when will I feel that? And realizing, like, crying because I'm like, I'm already missing it. And as I turn the corner, my family and my friends and my mom and everyone was there. And that was very like, that's something that I will always remember for the rest of my life. Seeing everyone there, and then having my children run in with me, like being open to knowing like Mom's doing something big. I might not understand it, but they supported anyway. They were there anyway. And hopefully when they're older, they know that when I do these things, I don't do it for myself. I do it for them. I do it to continue to live a healthy life, not just physically, but mentally and spiritually. And that I can open these doors for them and show them that they can do hard things, that even with the family, even you just have to have that support system. You have to believe in yourself. And then running down that alley was, again, like, am I really here? Am I really doing this? That was just kind of my question the entire time. I'm really hoping I'm not on this side dreaming about this on top of Eldon.
Not taking a dirt nap somewhere in Eldon.
Yeah. And yeah, it was once I crossed that finish line again, like, it was like, am I here? Like, someone pinch me. Am I here? And as soon as we took pictures and everything, I turned right around. I don't even think I got my buckle at that point. I turned around and I ran out. I was like, I got to go back for Missy. And so I ran back out and I met her part of the way as she was descending. And I know that she was hurting. And so I was like, she needs, I just need to be there for her. And so we all ran with her too. So that was beautiful to see her finish. And like I said, like, there's no way to relive that first time again. And I'm just really glad and happy and blessed and honored that it was actually captured on the Cutoff. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, it was all over Instagram. And then when the Cutoff movie came out, I remember seeing the videos of you on Instagram just going, wow, who is this? What is this? This is incredible. And, just so powerful. And then when the Cutoff movie came out, it was just tenfold. When you tell that story of you crossing the finish line, you know what I think of Wynonna? I think of you running in the snow. And, you can't hear the people behind you and you suddenly get into this other world. That's what I think of when you tell that story of coming down to the finish line at Cocodona. That's crazy. Okay. 2026. I want to be respectful of your time. I know I try to keep these things short, but
I mean, I'm like you. Like, if you ask, I will talk.
Good. Because I like listening and I like talking. 2026, you don't sign up or you don't get into Cocodona?
I don't. I'm too far down on the wait list.
Got it.
Yeah.
Missy does get in, though.
Yes, she
right?
does. Mm-hmm.
She does it.
Mm-hmm.
Spoiler alert, she finishes again.
Yep.
2-time finisher. You decide to sign up for... Because now, folks, some of my audience, I always explain this. Some of my audience, they all know all these races. Some of my audience, Wynonna, is like my sister Madonna in Manhattan, and she loves the podcast. She doesn't know all these. She may not know who Courtney DeWalter is or anything like that. So, Aravaipa is the race organization. They do the 250. They now do a handful of races.
Yes.
So they do the 250. They do the Sedona 125, the Mingus Mountain Traverse, which is 80 miles? Mm-hmm. And they do a race called the Bradshaw Brute, which is 100 miles. And they seem to do like the 35.
The Flagstaff Crest, 40 miles.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. So they do all these races. So you don't get into Cocodona. So tell us about your alternate plan that you came up with.
I first found out that they had a new race, their inaugural year, Bradshaw Brute. Already, the name intrigued me. And and I was like, it's the first 100 miles of Cocodona. I've done that. Like, okay, let's do it. And then at that point, Sedona had been sold out. And so I signed up for the Brute, and my plan was to finish and then either go help Missy or help pace Missy or crew whatever she needed, or any of the other Indigenous runners that would have been still in the race. And I would say 3 weeks out from Cocodona, I see Aravaipa posts that there are 6 spots for the Sedona 125. And so I get on the computer and I register. And my
what
husband.
Does Nick say?
Nick
say?
So actually, Nick was in Samoa. They were him and my 2 oldest. So they are part of a Polynesian dance group, and they were invited to dance out there for their Samoan Flag Day, which was a huge honor. So I was really happy and proud of them. And I'm like, I'm gonna wait till he gets home. Bless my husband's heart. He does a lot of volunteering. And so I was able to do Sedona based off of the race credits he built. So
Wow.
Yeah. So he volunteers to lower prices for me for the races. So he had tried to build that up actually for Cocodona. And I was like, I'm not sure if I'm going to be able to ever run Cocodona again because of the lotto. And I don't want these race credits to go to waste. And so I really want to run a 200-miler. And I had planned to run one later in the year, but that one did not fall through. So I was like, okay, this is my only chance. So I ended up registering. And all I told him, because we can't, their time was different than ours, and he only could contact me when we was at an area that had Wi-Fi. So I just left him a message on Instagram saying, hey, I need to tell you something. And so, of course, he's like, oh my gosh, like, what did you do? But So I'm like super excited, and the first person I tell, besides wanting to tell my husband, was of course Missy. I'm like, hey, guess what? And she's like, what? And I told her, and she was like, that's awesome. Like, I'm so excited for you. I'm glad you get to do like Cocodona, basically, you know? And I was like, yeah, I'm really excited. But I also wanted to let her know, like, I won't be available as a pacer. So in case you need to come up like with another person. And she's like, oh yeah, like that's fine. She's like, I had people as a backup just in case you got into Cocodona. So she was still like, you still have a chance. I'm like, no, I'm 678 on the wait list. There's no chance of me making it. And so, yeah, and I ended up running Bradshaw Brute 100 Monday, Tuesday, ended, of course, chasing cutoffs with 11 minutes to spare. DFL.
11 minutes?
Yeah, 11 minutes.
DFL.
Yes.
I love it.
Yes. And so the lady who gave me the DFL, I was sitting there eating, and she smiles at me and she turns the DFL award around, and I like jumped up. I was like, oh my goodness, I get to have one of these. And my aunt and my mom didn't know that was actually a real thing because they heard about it on the Cutoff, but they're like, that's a real thing? And I was like, yeah. And I've never been so excited about like being last ever. Like that was awesome. And then so I told Andre, I was like, guess what? And he's like, what? And I was like, I got DFL. He's like, that's awesome. I was like, I get to have one of these just like you. But yeah. And then we drive out to Cottonwood, and I probably went to bed about 1:30, woke up at 4 in the morning, and then drove up to the start line at Sedona at 5:30.
So just really quickly, so when you finish the one race, how many hours until you have to start the next race?
So
since you've come basically right at cutoff.
Yeah,
How much time do you have?
The final cutoff for the Brute was at 8 o'clock. The start time for Sedona was 7 a.m. 6? I don't even remember.
So like 10, 11 hours. That's it.
Yeah.
Oh, gosh.
Yeah.
And that one's 125 miles. Starts in
Yes.
Sedona almost and goes to...
Yeah, it starts in Jerome.
Starts in Cottonwood.
Yeah.
Or Jerome?
Yeah,
Okay.
Jerome.
And then it goes to the end of the Cocodona 250 course.
Yes.
Right?
Yep.
Okay.
But yeah, and then so there were a few people that have heard of me just running 100 miles. They're like, how are you out here again? And I'm like, well, I kind of feel like I cheated because I got to shower and I got a few hours of sleep, more than my friends that are still out there. And I really, really contemplated on actually just running from Watson to the beginning of the Sedona. But I'm like, I don't think I can make it to the start line. Even Missy was like, just run through. And I was like, I probably could, but I don't think I can move fast enough. Like, because my last year's time was not even like, no, like I'm not going to make it. But yeah, I thought it was funny.
Oh, my God. So you do the 125. Any issues or major stories on that one? That one, I'm looking at your finish time. You're not DFL. You're flying. You finished 9 hours ahead of cutoff, right?
Yes. And so experiencing the Brute and barely making cutoffs for that one. And then having run Sedona, not worrying about cutoffs was a completely different experience. I felt like I had to be somewhere at a certain time, but I had to remind myself, like, no, you are so much ahead of the cutoff time. Like, you can actually sleep. You can get a nap in. You can, but I kind of had it in my head, like, no, like, I don't want to just I want to see what I can do with the amount of energy that I have. I mean, of course I slept. I think the most I slept was maybe like an hour at an aid station. But I didn't sleep more than that because I wanted to keep going. I wanted to see like how far I could push myself because I didn't have a pacer for Sedona at all. And I didn't have crew or pacer for Bradshaw. So that was a really good experience. And it was just very interesting experience not to be chasing cutoffs. Like I enjoyed the actual, like I got to look around, I got to like talk to people, nap if I needed to. Such a different experience from last year for sure. Because I remember like at one point, my pacer was maybe like 50 feet in front of me, and she intentionally did that so I wouldn't ask her, can we stop it and take a dirt nap? She's like, no, like that's what they told me to do. And I was just like, okay. Because every time I felt like I got closer, she would move further ahead of me. And I'm like, dang, okay, now I have to actually catch her.
I wonder if that freed you up to go faster. Because I'm looking at your stats. So you do Cocodona 250, and we know you're chasing cutoffs, but you finished. The cutoff is 125 hours. You finished 122, and change.
Yeah.
250 miles. So this year you go 225 miles. You finish under 100 hours. Put those together. Does that blow your mind a little bit? I mean, being the math teacher, come on.
No,
right?
it does. Like
that's so much faster.
That's what I was telling my mom, because I was like, I know I'm sleep deprived, but that felt faster. And even my mom and my aunt said, you were moving faster and you look stronger than last year. And the Brute had 20,000 feet of elevation gain. So it was like we climbed way more in that first section than we did in like the 250. And then I slept more. And what I had found was that if I can get at least 45 minutes to an hour of sleep, I can move faster in between. Like I can push myself. And I'm literally like Wally. Like I can't function without sleep. And the thing, so Missy thinks I'm silly that I do this. My husband thinks I'm crazy, and people think like that I tell are like, how are you able to do that? So I don't take caffeine. I don't like anything caffeinated. I don't drink energy drinks. That's just pure raw willpower. I don't rely. I don't drink soda. I haven't drank soda since my puberty ceremony, because you're restricted from drinking anything that's not from the earth. So like sugary stuff. So you have to eat like, meats and vegetables and fruit. So I challenged myself, like if I can go 4 days without soda, how much more? So now it's been like 25 years since I haven't had soda. So Missy, she teases me all the time. She's like, just take some coffee so we can go. I'm like, no, just go. I could take a nap. But that's the thing that's what I mean. Like when I get tired, like I get tired. Like that's, I really want to experience the whole thing of just being immersed in all of it without having any supplements to help me get through it. It's just, I feel like I go back to my ceremony where we weren't allowed to drink coffee or drink energy drinks. It was literally like your pure willpower to get through that week. And so I go back to that when I'm out there on the trail. So that's why I say it's hard for me to run at night, because I don't take caffeine. I don't rely on anything to energize me. It's what I feel in the moment. And so when I take a nap, I'm like, okay, now I can go. So, yeah.
Okay. Wow. It's so impressive. So do you compare it to last year's experience? Is Cocodona 250 in a whole different level, or how does it compare to last year?
I wouldn't say so. Sedona doesn't exactly have the exact routes. We don't go over Eldon. We run different parts of Sedona. And as far as like the trail, they're not exactly parallel. They have some sections that are the same, but not really.
Okay.
I feel like even if you were to run the same race, it's going to be a different experience anyway. And I mean, just based off of last year compared to this year, they didn't get, I mean, maybe some of them did, but it wasn't raining and snowing for the first 3 days, and that's a whole already different compared to this year.
Yeah.
And I don't know if the 250 had like different routes. I mean, we weren't allowed pacers, or they weren't allowed pacers over Eldon, so that's changed. So I think when I compare, I feel like the amount of effort that I put into it was way different. I think last year was just like, just finish, whatever that means, finish. And within that year, I think I learned more about how I exert my energy, where do I put it most, and how can I not necessarily be faster in a sense of like record time, but more of like, how can I run this better to where I'm
More
stronger.
efficient.
Yeah, more efficient,
Yeah,
where
more
I can be
efficient,
stronger. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, I get that. Yeah, it's obviously two different experiences. And like you said, your first time doing Cocodona 250, it was magic. It was, you're chasing cutoffs, just like you said, you'll never finished it for the first time ever again. I was well, you probably know this. You probably keep in touch with Dylan. I don't know if you do or not, but I was messaging him at the end of Cocodona this year because I knew he was following the women. And I messaged him and I'm like, "You're getting this, right?" He's like, "It's a dream come true." He's like, "You have no idea of what we captured out here. I can't wait to see it." I mean, I love that. I love that I just love just all the different things. So like, they did the elite man, front of the pack. Yay. I mean, we get that. We love that. It was a great film. But I love that they're, doing the same respect to the women. I love that he did the back of the pack. He actually wanted to do that one before he did the chase. He was actually, pestering Jamil to do that one before he even did the chase. So I love that. I can't wait to see the film next year. I'm going to start to wrap us up here a little bit. Anything else from your experience this year that you need to tell us about? Otherwise, I've got a few closing things I want to ask you.
no, like other than I think if you have the opportunity to do both, like it's a very challenging race. I mean, they're two different ones, but it allows you to still get that 200 miler in, but it really does challenge you, especially the Bradshaw Brute, with really relying on yourself. No crew, no pacer. I remember getting to the finish line, and the first thing I tell my aunt, because she was there drumming me in, and I was like, that was so hard. And I say that every time. I'm like, that was the hardest thing I've done. And that to this day was hard. But when I go back and I think about that DFL, like I had every opportunity to stop. I had the choice to not push to get to the next cutoff. And it's so interesting when I think about that mindset that I'm in when I'm in a race, that sometimes I can't do outside. Like I can't take a 10-minute nap. I'm like, give me 10 more minutes. But on the course, I'm like 10 minutes, I'm up and I'm moving again. So it's just really interesting where your mind goes when you're in that space. But yeah, if you get a chance, do it.
I have a feeling you've started something. I have a feeling next year we're going to see a handful of people trying the Brad Brute, or what do we call the Bradona, whatever we're going to call it. But yeah, that is so fun. So I got to ask, 2027, what are you doing? Are you doing Cocodona 250? I know they just had the lottery. recently. What are you doing in 2027?
So, my husband comes home and he's like, I'm so nervous. I'm like, what are you nervous about? He's like, they're doing the drawing tonight. I'm like, oh yeah. And so I hop on and I'm like, I need to go to the gym. He's like, well, we can watch it there. So I'm like lifting and I'm like, hold the phone up so I can see. And we're watching it for 2 hours and I'm on this Stairmaster. And I start to get a little sad and I'm like, okay, I need to prepare myself because if there are 2 people left for the women that need to be drawn. And I'm getting like, okay, what are my plans? I need to register for Bradshaw. I need to register for Sedona again. That's going to fill up quick. And I started already having these plans. And 2 people left, and they called a few men. And then second to the last, I see my name on the screen. And I'm like, and my husband's like shouting across the gym, like, yes, you got in. And I was just like, this huge, like, I don't know. It just felt just a huge relief. Like I get to do it again. And so that's what I'll be doing. So it was
doing it again.
It was the cutoff feeling all over again. Yep. Just that last second to the last being called.
Even in the lottery, you're coming in on the DFL podium. Love it. Is Missy? How about Missy? Is she doing it again?
She did not enter the lotto.
Okay.
But we're hoping that she gets to get in. So.
Okay.
Because it'd be great.
She's on the wait list.
Yeah. So I hope that she we get to experience that again. But she did awesome this year. So. There's no doubt that I hope, I really do hope that she gets to get in again because I think we're both secretly trying to get the 1,000-mile buckle.
Oh, sure, 5 times, 4 times.
4 times.
You're the math teacher.
It's okay.
Help me out. It's 4 times.
I'm on break, so I might just be worse than you.
I always ask people if they have a dream race. It might be Cocodona. It might be the one that you're going to do again next year. Do you have a dream race? Now, money's no object, training's no object. I don't know if it's, Trans Rockies, if it's UTMB, if it's some crazy race over somewhere. Or is it Cocodona?
A dream race, I would love to experience everything, all distances. But I think one that is for sure a bucket list would be the Grand Slam Triple Crown. Yeah, just
that is Moab and Bigfoot and Tahoe. All 200-mile races.
Yeah, and then
it's a trio of races.
Yeah, and the Grand Slam includes the monster, so the 300-miler.
Oh, sure.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Okay.
But I mean, that's I think what is there after Cocodona? It's other than I don't know. That's the only thing that I feel like 200 miles and then you get a few weeks off and then 200 miles again.
I'm hoping Tony or Ben go back to do it because I don't want to do it, but I want to pace them and crew them. Ben had a ticket to go this year and I was going to crew him and pace him. And he got injured, so he had to drop out. So I'm
sorry.
That's all right. I took all that money I saved for my travel, and I'm going to Western States to
nice.
Crew and pace a friend of mine, Neeraj, who's running that race. So
that's awesome.
That'll be fun. I get to experience that. Dream race. We talked about that. Hobby. Do you have a hobby other than running that you do, or is it just running?
It's funny because running, it's not in the category of a hobby for me. I feel like it's part of because it's always been part of our culture to get up in the morning, run to the east. It's like a daily, something that I have, that's part of me. Yeah. My husband likes to call them old lady hobbies. So I like sewing.
Great. All right.
Yeah.
Love it.
Yeah, it's a way for me because I coach, not coach, well, I do coach, but I teach seventh graders, so middle schoolers, and I get overstimulated. And I feel like with sewing, it's very therapeutic because I get to cut out shapes the way I want the shapes to be cut out. And then I get to piece them together. Yeah. So it's just, I have control over what that outcome is, I guess you can say. So it's
great.
Yeah.
Great.
It might not always be like perfect, but that's okay.
That's okay. Happy accidents. Who is a runner or runners that you look up to? Trail runners.
Oh man. So there's a runner. He's an indigenous runner. He's a Navajo runner. His name is Brandon Bowie. He ran this year. This was his third Cocodona. I call him the lone wolf. He's very quiet. He's very humble. He actually finished the Triple Crown last year. Not many people know about it. So whenever I always get a chance like, hey, did you know he finished the Triple Crown? But I look up to him in a sense of like, you find him at a race and he's pacing and he doesn't have a pacer. He doesn't have a crew. He's just like, yeah, I just drove out here to Vegas and I'm doing 100-miler. Or when he did even the Triple Crown, I think he didn't even have a crew, but I think other people had like jumped in and say, hey, like, we'll help you. But I think just that whole, I respect that of him of like, I'm going to go do this. I don't have to tell anyone. So I'm going to be, I call him the lone wolf. So, but yeah, he's one person that I really admire that can just go out and run 200 miles and just not really have like a crew or pacer.
Who's the guy there's a guy, a well-known runner that never has pacers. Is that Andy Glaze? Somebody like that I think always does these without pacers. That's awesome.
Yeah. And then I think Manu, the Brazilian, the one from Brazil, like I love her approach to running. I saw her finish, is it Moab, like the Triple Crown, and I just love her attitude of just like how she thinks of running and how she approaches it. Those are probably two that I look up to. And I would say Missy as well. Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah.
I love it. Last thing I always ask my guests, and I got this from an early listener, Graham from Ireland. He said, you should ask your guests their 5 favorite pieces of gear. We all love to talk about, our water bottles, our shoes, our vests, our poles. So this is what I do, Wynonna. I ask all my guests, give me your 5 favorite pieces of gear you like to have with when you do Cocodona or training run or whatever. It can be anything from a dog to a water bottle to sunglasses to sunscreen. It can be anything. There's no rules.
So I always have a medicine pouch on me. So I always have like my essential items. I usually keep cornmeal in there, corn pollen. So if I need to give offerings, I have that with me. I have an arrowhead with me. And then that's number 1 for me. Number 2, even though I did not grow up really using a watch, like any of my long runs, my pacing, like to track my pacing, I would say my watch. I actually was really upset that my husband bought me this watch because I'm like, no, like why? Like I don't need it. My whatever first edition that Garmin was, I'm like, I'm fine with this. He's like, no, you're gonna need it for Cocodona, and I'm like, you're right. So yeah, I gave in. I love it.
Yeah.
And that's 2. 3, I don't really think about this, but that's interesting. My little tiny Navajo flag that I have put on my
Oh yeah.
my pack.
Yep.
That's 3. My my gold beanie that says you're on native land.
Yeah. Nice.
Yeah.
Nice. That's 4.
And then
You got one more.
My running skirt.
Oh, yes.
My ribbon skirt. Yep. Mm-hmm.
Obviously, yeah. I love that. I love that. And before we go, I know I now follow Native Women Run. I know that's tell my audience a little bit about that organization and what they do.
So it's a nonprofit organization that allows Indigenous women to toe the start line. So they either get grants or donations to allow women to be in the ultra spaces, whether it be their first 5K all the way to now Cocodona. And the representation, of women in the ultra running spaces is very little, and Indigenous women runners are even smaller. And a lot of that has to do with, the financial aspects of it, not being as exposed to what an ultra run is. But it provides those opportunities for women to be in those spaces. And that's actually how I got introduced to ultra running, was because I was able to run the 100K in Zion. And I'm always thankful for the experiences. A lot of my experiences have been through Native Women Run, Trans Rockies, Zion, the Rut in Montana. But when it's not always just about, we're going to have Indigenous, we need more representation. Yes, but when women are in these spaces, they are healing. They are changing cycles, maybe like the toxic cycles that they grew up in. They're choosing running over addiction. Like, there's all these different stories, and Native Women provides that space for them to either start their healing journey or continue it, or even just to find that support system within the community. And that's what Native Women Run does, is provide those opportunities for Indigenous women all over. Yeah. So
I love that. I don't have a huge audience. I have the best audience in the world, about 70 loyal listeners, and I will have links to that and some of the other places we talked about. So
thank you.
This is an absolute pleasure. I appreciate you so much, and thank you for coming on, and I'll be rooting for you next year, Cocodona. I'll be excited to watch you. You might need to break Rachel's record. I think it's there for the taking. You're just getting faster and faster.
With 19 minutes of sleep, like I get that in the first 20 hours. So and that's what Missy was saying, like, because I was like, man, that'd be really cool to run Western States. And I was like, I need to get so much faster. She's like, you just need to train hard and faster. And I was like, I need to work on my sleep. She's like, yes.
Yeah.
So.
All right. Well, I'll let you go. Thank you so much, Wynonna. I appreciate you.
All right. Well, thank you for having me and, wanting to listen and learn and allowing a safe space for me to speak and and being interested in my journey and my story.
Thank you. Yes, thank you, Wynonna. Thank you for taking the time to share your story and your journey and teach me about the rich traditions of your culture and how that has shaped and guided you. I'm always appreciative to learn about lineage and history and the deep meanings and intentions behind these traditions. I'll be watching and rooting for you next year at Cocodona, and I hope to run into you out on the trail at some point. I'll have links in the show notes to some of the races and organizations we talked about. And remember, if you enjoyed the pod, please help spread the word with a review, a follow, a rating, or a comment. It all helps. And the next time you're on a trail run, take time to recognize that these are all sacred lands. Someone used and honored these lands and called them home long before we were here. Well, that's it for this one. Until next time, take care and cheers. Keep running, keep walking, keep moving forward. Remember your why, stay resilient, and you will cross that finish line.